Hi, I'm Chuck Dorsett for Weaver Leather Supply. Let's make a very visible bag tag. My biggest problem when going through an airport, every bag is the same size and the same color. It's hard to tell which one is ours. Yeah, we're gonna knock that problem out. But also too, this is a great project. It's inexpensive, it's easy to do, and what a great gift. Now we're thinking luggage or briefcase, but how about a golf bag tag or gym bag, gun case? So many places we can use a bag tag. Like I said, makes a great gift. All right, so anything I use in this video, weaverleathersupply.com or check below. We've got links there. Going to take you straight to the website. Also, if you want to know when our videos release, just click your notifications. You'll know exactly when these come out. So let's step over to our pattern table, look at our pattern. As usual, a simple project looks like it's got a ridiculously complicated pattern. It isn't. Every bit of this is going to fall right into place. We've got a good digital pick, but let's come back to that. Let's start right here. So we've got a standard business card in the US. This is 2 inches by 3.5. All we're doing here, and this will work on just about any size, all we're doing is we're going to come in 1/4 of an inch on all 4 sides. That's going to be our window, smaller than the card. Well, that makes perfect sense. Okay, on the outside, we're going to put in a stitch line. So let's come 3/8 of an inch outside of our business card line. That's all we're doing. Okay, now let's jump over to our digital pick, get a little more specific. So lengthwise, 4 3/4 or 12.06 centimeters. Widthwise, 2.5 or 6.35 centimeters. Well, we see the dotted line in the center. Well, there's our business card, 1/4 inch in, 3/8 out, or about 0.952 centimeters. On this end, right here, this is the top of our business card. Let's just extend that line out to the edge of the project, okay? Let's come out 1 inch, find our center line, and come out 1/2 of an inch on either side of that. Then let's just connect the dots. That's going to give us a nice angle. Now, on our oblong, the closer this is to the edge, the more risk we have that that could tear out one day. We're going to sink this in 1/2 of an inch. That's not going anywhere. So on our billet, we can go so many ways, just like our decorations. Well, I love a good buckle. In fact, yeah, we had to have some basket weave on this. I think that's going on my briefcase. Anyway, we could always go with a small buckle billet. We could go with a snap. That's not going to make it through baggage claim. So how about this? Let's go with a Chicago screw or a screw post, just a threaded rivet. Well, here's why. I want to be able to interchange these across my luggage because, say, my winter suitcase is going to be a lot larger than my summer suitcase, right? So I want to make these interchangeable. But 2 rules here, 2 rules with a bag tag. We've got to have a name and some way to get in touch with us. We don't want to use an address. That's a security issue. But at least our name and a phone number or an email. Second thing we need, visibility. Well, we're going to nail it on both of those. We'll be able to pick out our bag the second it hits the carousel. But also, on some of the suitcases, there are little windows for some information. Well, if we have one of those, really all we need from our bag tag is some good visibility. Well, now we can go all kinds of ways. That'd be great for a diver. Drop in maybe a red suede behind that. So many ways we can go with decoration on these. All right, so we've done absolutely enough talking. Let's step over to our main table, start cutting some leather. With our leather, unlimited possibilities. Make these your own, absolutely. I want to talk about all the leather possibilities, but we're going to keep moving. But here's 2 good options. Our Casablanca. Love that. That would make a gorgeous, very classic looking bag tag. That's our 4 to 5 ounce water buffalo. That too, that would be beautiful. But we're going to go with our Lexi. Well, first off, for visibility, absolutely. But secondly, this is about a 3 to 4 ounce. Well, I typically don't want to go that light. But if we back this with itself, the Lexi actually has a little body to it. So if we back that with itself, that actually feels like a pretty sturdy bag tag. We could go with most any weight, but I'd like to stick around a 4 to 5, maybe a 5 to 6. Okay, so right here, we've got a good clean edge. Actually, I don't ever trust an edge because it's so easy to miss small cuts from previous projects. So let's just scoot our straight edge over, cut off about a 1/4 inch, then we know we have no issues. New blade every time. Okay. There we go. Now we know we've got a good clean edge. We can use a scribe to mark this, but to be honest with you, absolutely cannot see it. And what happens is I don't get good clean cuts, so my 2 pieces don't match. we're going to go with a pen. Now we can always mark on the back, but unless our cutting surface is absolutely clean, we're going to have a bad cut on that. We're going to have a bad cut on the face. So what we're going to do is go with a pen. We're going to go very lightly. And also, let's make sure we've got no excess ink on the end of that. But let's lay this in, and let's just draw this in lightly. Here's the best part of this. If we cut just inside that line on both pieces, they're going to be absolutely accurate to the size of our pattern. Okay, we've got our outline. Before we pick this up, we're going to cut two of these, one with a window, one without. So let's take an awl and let's just make a mark in all four corners. Okay, now for our second, again, I'm going to cut just inside that ink line. So I'm going to butt that up almost to it. So again, when I cut inside the ink line, I've got no issues. But let's flip this. Because if our measurements aren't exact, if we're not exactly square, if we flip this, actually it's going to look like it is. Perfect. Okay, now we don't need our marks for our window on this, so let's cut these out. Now when I cut these, like this line up here, I'm going to do my best to get everything as square as I can. So let's square along this line, then I know when I make my cut here, it too is square. Okay, we cut inside our ink line. Let's see how these line up. Almost perfect. Good, that's what we're looking for. Now, when we jump over to our window, we could always use a round hole punch on each corner and then cut between, but I can never seem to get that to come out very well. So let's do this. We've got to watch this, but it makes it so very clean and easy. You'll see what I'm talking about, okay? So here's our outside mark on this corner. I'm going to put 4. It doesn't matter. You'll see why. I'm going to put 4 on that, and I'm going to square that to that mark, okay? I know I need to stop my blade before I get to 4, but I want to get there. I want to get pretty close to that. Good, okay? So over on this line, I'm going to put my 5-inch mark right there, and I'm going to stop before I get to 5, but I'm going to get pretty close, and you'll see why. Okay, so I've got my cut started. Now, when I cut, even though I know I'm holding my blade straight up and down, because of the tool, the blade is a little bit angled. So what we're going to do, like right up here, where we didn't finish that cut, I'm going to drop that right in, and I'm going to lean it a little bit left. Let's just clip that off. There we go. Let's do the same thing to all 4 corners. And let's clip that corner clean. Let's see how that... There we go. Look at that. We've got a perfect window. Okay. So now we need a strap 5/8 of an inch wide by 8 inches long. So let's use, instead of a pin or an awl, let's use our knife. And I'm going to hit right on the 5/8 inch. Make that mark enough to see it. Same down here. And this is going to give us a very accurate line. Let's cut between the two. Good, and let's trim to size. Very nice, we've got our 8 inches. All right, let's reset here. We're going to glue these two pieces together, get these ready to sew. I love our double-sided tape. We've got this in 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch. Now the problem is I don't have 1/8 inch in my shop. I've run out. And I think 1/4 inch is just going to give us too much adhesive across there. Might make it hard to get the cards in and out. Well, let's go with our Leathercraft cement. This is a strangely strong glue for leather, but leather's great for glue. It's very porous. Now we're just going to sew from the bottom of our angle and around. So that's the only place we need glue. Now it's easy enough to apply this. I'm going to put this on the edge of my table, keep my hand down, there we go, and let's just roll a small bead across the edge. And notice too, by doing it this way, I can really control how much glue I get on that edge, okay? So let's take these two pieces, lay these together. And if we have a little excess glue there, That's no issue. That simply wipes right off. Oh, there we go. Perfect fit, absolutely good. Now the glue, it's just there long enough for us to get our stitch line in. But let's give that a couple of minutes and let that glue set. Just about a minute or two and our glue is set good. Thus far, that is beautiful. Maybe could have had a little better cut there, but all told, looks great. Okay, so we're going to hand sew this. We can absolutely sew it on a machine. And in fact, these were sewn on a machine. Looks pretty good, quick and easy. But say we don't have a sewing machine. That's okay, we're going to make it look good. I'll hand sew with you. So let's take a groover though. Now, if I were doing veg tan, I'd go all the way around because it makes a nice touch on our edge, but not so much on chromes. So let's just add a groove line where we're going to add our stitch line. More than anything, simply as a guide. And there we go. We can certainly see that. All right, let's step over to our punch table. We've got a couple of things to do over here. We've got a couple of steps here, so let's knock all of these out while we're on our punch table. So first off, let's start with our billet. So right here, we're coming in 1/2 of an inch from either end. Let's mark that. Good. Now, let's punch a hole. We're going to use a Chicago screw or a screw post. So let's go with our largest hole on our revolving, or if we've got a drive punch, let's go with something around, say, a 3/16 inch. Okay, let's jump over to a 5/8 inch rounded punch. Now, it's kind of an obscure size, absolutely. A 3/4 will work, a 1 inch will work. If we don't have rounded, we can simply clip the corners. But this is going to make this look very professional. Okay, we've got that. Now, we've got a little bit of a problem here because our screws, our Chicago screws, our smallest is a 1/4 of an inch. It's going to be really loose on that, okay? Well, let's make a donut or a washer. If we have a larger round end, let's see, that's about a 1/2 inch. Let's see if we can coerce this out of the punch. No, we can't. There we go. Come out for me. There we are. So anyway, again, we can punch a hole right in the middle of this. We're simply using this to take up a little space. But what we can do, say we've got a black briefcase or a suitcase, let's go with black. We're going to put this on the back, but we could always put that on the front, tie the whole thing together. Simply getting creative with a utility piece, okay? So that's ready to go. Let's set that aside. Jump it over to our main body. Let's add our oblong punch. Again, a 5/8 inch. If we don't have that, we can always simply cut 2 holes and cut between them. Or a 3/4 inch oblong is going to work just as well. But we've got a 5/8. Let's use that. Good. Now, jumping over our last step here, our chisel. We're going to go with our 5mm diamond. It's a beautiful stitch. But this technically is right about 5 stitches per inch. Now with me, I want to start exactly on my center line and work up. So when we do, the end of our stitch line is going to be parallel. So let's come down to the bottom and let's just make a mark exactly in the center. So 2.5, 1 1/4. All right, let's take our 6. We're not going through too much depth here, so a 6 is going to work fine. Let's sink that right in that hole. There we go. Now, with our diamond chisel, I want to make sure I get a good punch on this so that we don't have any trouble when we go to sew this. We're not making our hands very tired trying to force needles through. Okay, first time center hole. Good. Now on either end, let's just come out one time. I'm going to use my 2. First time, last hole. And that puts us right in that corner. Very nice. Okay, from there, let's work our way up the groove line. Okay, our last 6. Now let's jump over to a 4. And that is perfect. Good, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And our last 4, well, how easy is that? This is going to look good. Okay, let's knock a stitch into this. Let's start with a couple of notes for those of us who are new to leathercraft. These are things that are going to help us out. Well, our sewing pony. absolutely helpful when we're hand sewing. This bar is actually made to sit on. This will turn, so that's going to keep our work right in front of us. But I prefer to stand up when I'm sewing. I've got better reach, better vision, and more upper body strength. So I'm just going to C-clamp my pony to my work surface. Here's another one. Let's add a little leather right here on our jaws. Contact cement is a great way to go, but that's going to protect our project from getting dinged from a sharp edge. And the biggest point, let's add a little tape here, and you'll see why if you ever hand sew. As we're sewing, our thread is notorious for grabbing that arm. It opens up, our project bounces, very frustrating. And it's not just going to happen once, it's going to happen over and over. So let's just put a little piece of tape there, it's going to cure the problem. Now on our thread, we're going to go with our 0.6 millimeter Ritza thread. I use the 0.8 on just about everything, but this is a smaller project and it's a thinner leather. Well, it would sew nice with a heavier weight, but I just don't want this enormous stitch line on a smaller project. Just looks out of proportion to me. Our needles, John James number 18, it's the only needle I sew with. Now, here's a big point for the folks that are new, hand sewing. Well, it can be a little tedious. Actually, we're going to sew this in about 4 minutes. Here's where I'm going with this. I've got a Weaver 303 and I love it. But if I've got to wind a bobbin, I got to set my tension, I got to rethread my machine, say with a different color, I can actually hand sew this faster than I can do all of that. All right, so saddle or stitch. We're going to go about 3 times our length, maybe a little bit more. Say if we have 2 8 to 9s back to back, we're actually going further horizontal than we are lengthwise. That's going to chew up some thread. But on the smaller leather, 3 times our length or maybe a hair more, it's going to be fine. Now, saddle or stitch, we're going to put a needle on both ends of our thread. The rule here, first hole, 1 needle, okay? Here's a good point, and again for the folks that are new, I want to put my face, or the side that I've chiseled from, to my prominent hand. I'm right-handed, but we're going to go left just because of the camera shot. But the point is, the hole on this side is funnel-shaped. The hole on this side is puckered. So we can always simply find that hole from the face. But back here, if we're trying to get through that, we're going to fish for that hole. We're going to scratch up our project. So let's even our thread out. There we go. Good. On our next hole, I'm going to lead with my prominent hand. Let's open that hole up, and then from the back side, that needle falls right into place. So let's bring this about halfway across. I'm going to make an X. I'm going to move my fingers from the eye to the tip, and I'm going to pull through. Okay, but we're going with a diamond chisel. So what I want to do is I'm going to make one or the other needle the prominent needle. Well, let's just go with this side. But I want that needle out front, my back needle behind that. Okay, so let's move our fingers and let's pull through. Now, on the tension here, if we really give this a lot of tension, what's going to happen is this is going to ripple on us. So I just want to see that thread sink down into the leather just a hair. Okay, next hole, let's open that up with our right, bring our second in. Let's get that second needle behind the first. Same thing. Let's do a couple more. Take a look at this stitch. Well, that looks very good. Good clean stitch. And notice too, with our 2 needles, we're actually moving pretty fast. Good. Okay, I'm going to work my way around to the other side. Well, actually, I almost cut myself a little bit short on my thread. I like to have a little more, but actually we're going to do what we need to do with this. But actually, that looks good, okay? So right here, we're going to tie a square knot. We're going to hide a knot in our leather. So let's come to our last hole. Let's bring 1 needle through the front ply and 1 needle through the back ply. Good. Okay, square knot. So I'm going to take my right, I'm going to go over my left and circle around, and let's pull that taut. Now let's go with our left over our right, circle around, and let's pull that taut. Good. Take our needles off. Now we can use a knife here as well, but let's just get down in there and cut relatively close to that knot. We don't really have a lot of stress pulling this apart. In fact, with our billet in there, no stress at all. We could always do a double loop there, but no real need here. All right, well, that looks good. I've got a little mark right there. I have been watching that through this whole project and it's making me crazy. Okay, let's step over to our main table. Last two steps. We don't necessarily have to put a plastic overlay in our bag tag, but to me, that's a finishing touch. Makes it look very professional. But at the same time, notice the difference between our hand sewn and our machine sewn. How very clean, no back stitch, no double stitch. And I can see my back stitch on both sides. Not a big point, but I love to hand sew. With our overlay material, this is just a clear plastic. We can find this at just about any box store, office supply store, art store, but here's something funny. I love to keep my packaging. That makes a good overlay. So on our business card, this is 2 by 3.5 or about 5.08 centimeters by 8.9 centimeters. So let's cut our overlay exactly the same size as our card. We've got that. Okay, let's take our card, slide that under our overlay, and let's slide that in, making sure we don't have dust and debris on that. Let's slide that in. Perfect fit. Good, that's what we were looking for. Very nice, simple, professional. That's a nice job. Okay, on our billet, doesn't really matter how we go in, but what I'd like to do is I want to bring the top over the bottom strap. So we've got our screws here. Now, this is a 1/4 inch Chicago screw. I love these, but we've got to add a small dab of glue or they can work themselves out over time. We can pop them out if we just use something like, say, a simple white glue. Now, I'm not going to use a very strong glue here because I want these interchangeable. All right, so let's come in on the top side. Let's come through the second, and then let's add our donut in there. Good. Let's take a screw and screw that down. And we could actually use a screwdriver here, but really, I could actually use another little donut there to make it tight, but all told, that is fine. Well, that is a good looking bag tag. Let's step over to our pattern table and just go over a couple of final notes. Typically, if I'm going to give these away as a gift, and I usually do, I'm going to make a set, a pair, so we have one, say, for our checked baggage and maybe a briefcase or a carry-on. But I want to bring this up. We touched on this, but here's a great example. So right here, we've got, this is a machine sewn, that's a size 92 thread. There's our 0.6 millimeter Ritza. When we jump up to our 0.8 millimeter, well, it looks good, it's prominent, but to me, that's just too much thread for the project. So the 0.6, just right. But here's another big point. We can go a million different directions with our bag tags, and that's one of the best things about leathercraft to me. Unlimited possibilities, even with a simple utility project. One more point. Here are my bag tags. So that's been on my briefcase for about 6 years on my luggage. You could say these have been through a few airports, but I think it's time to do an upgrade because all told, I am exceptionally happy with the way these came out. These are a perfect leathercraft project for so many reasons. It's not an expensive project, doesn't take a lot of time, unlimited creative possibilities, and the best part, what a great gift for friends, family, co-workers. We're going to be very popular at the holidays. Well, take your bag tags, make them your own, and I hope they're gorgeous. Good luck with your projects.